Okay, Michael, we're going to take a look at your week 2 assignment 3 drawing. I think you're probably at a little bit of a disadvantage here because we didn't take a look at your last assignment. I think you still need to get that in the proper format. PDF is just not a format that we use for the visual work, and it's in the guidelines. It's in the specs, so you need to make sure you get that in, so at the very least it can be graded. Here I think we have some issues with the image quality. It's very, very blurry overall, and I think that is in some ways obscuring a lot of the textural elements that are being put into place. I think the wood box, for instance, could really benefit from a little bit more clarity so that we could see how the wood texture is being applied. I can see what you mean with it, you know, the toy box and how the joints of the wood kind of meet together, and I can see something going on here, but I don't have a good clear idea of what it is. The rest of the shapes from my kind of point of view right now is I don't see a lot of textural stuff going on. I see some color application being applied. Some of it is effective. I think some of it is not as effective, but texturally I just don't see a whole lot occurring here. The cube, I'm not really sure what texture is being applied to that. The cylinder or the cone, I just don't have a good idea. Here kind of looks a little bit kind of like a metal, even though the color is throwing things off, and I think you could try and work with colored pencil a little more aggressively, just to get some of the textural elements in place. But I think you may need to kind of work on just color accuracy. I'm not sure what texture kind of the magenta would be. You know, if it was metal, if it was wood, if it was brick, any of those textures have a certain kind of color range that they fall under, and so a lot of these shapes just don't fall under that. You know, the wood table coloring that you have in place would be perfect for a wood texture, and then you apply some colored pencil on top of that, and that would work out very well. The metallic textures, if you have black and a series of grays, then that's something that you're able to do, and it looks like you have at least some grays in place, where I think you could try and get that to be a little bit more effective. But right now it's just it just doesn't feel like it's present. Value wise, I think it could be pushed a little bit more in some shapes. The cone could see a little more value application. I think the distinction between the planes on your wooden box could have a little bit more value distinction. Some darker values on the sphere towards the bottom, and then cast shadows I think are also needed. I don't have a very good concept of where the lighting is coming from other than here, from this kind of direction, because of the shadowed side here, and I guess this is part of, I guess I was thinking of this as a cast shadow, but it's actually part of the cone, which is actually good, but we need to have a little bit of a cast shadow to kind of give us a sense of where it gives just a good kind of solid, easy to read marker of where the lighting situation is coming from, and I just don't think it's there strong enough yet. Perspective, it feels mixed. I feel like we're seeing a little bit too much of the top of this cube in comparison to not seeing very much of this cube, and they're not that far apart from each other in terms of height, so I almost feel like this guy needs to be made a little bit slimmer, just as this one is. The overlapping looks good. The placement feels pretty good. You're dealing with a background, a ground plane, which is also positive. I think that there are definitely a lot of good things happening in here, but unfortunately it's tough for me to see everything with the image quality, and there is a lot of stuff that I think is missing that you could try and develop a little bit more. Not just value, but I think just trying to be more prominent with things like texture, things like value changes, and the like. So just kind of keep an eye on it, keep practicing with it, and I think you might have to go out and get some more markers if you're really finding yourself in this situation where you can't do what you want to do, even in something kind of as simple as a week 2 assignment. So that's also something you might need to think about.